Mm, 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 mm,
Hi,
mm.
everyone.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hello.
We are here, the Annotation Station, to talk about our fiction pick for April. This was
Yes,
April. Yes.
April.
I was very behind on reading it, so that's why I'm like, what month was this supposed to be? What are we doing? I don't know. But hi, I'm Natalie. If you're here, you should know who I am, but
Yay.
happy to have you here with my friend Steph,
Hi.
whom you should also know and follow, and her stuff is linked below. I hope so. I hope I was good and I did that.
Good noodle.
So yeah, we're here to talk about The Buffalo Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones, which is it? It's a horror, but like I don't know that I would categorize it in the traditional horror kind of way. There's definitely horrific things that happen. Don't get that mistaken. But
Mhm.
should we just give a summary to begin with before we say
Sure. Do
anything
you
else?
want to try? You want me to try?
I can try.
Go for it.
So in Buffalo Hunter, we follow this pastor who is hearing the confession of an Indigenous man called Goodstab, who is telling him his life story in essence. But the horror elements comes in when the pastor starts realizing that there's a reason why Goodstab has chosen him for his confession, I mean, and he should be afraid. And it's a vampire story. That's part of what we learn about Goodstab. And it is very, very sad. Very sad. And I have mixed feelings about it, but do I regret reading it? No. No, I don't.
Yes.
Anything you'd want to add to that?
I don't other than that, I would say for in my head it's a historical fiction first.
Yeah, same. For me,
Yeah.
it's historical fiction first and then
Then
horror.
yeah, it's very
Pretty
important.
much. Yeah.
Heavy on the historical fiction in the first half, which we will talk about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi,
Hero!
Ro. And yes, it's
Happy
May the
May
4th,
the
Star
4th.
Wars Day.
Woo! Yeah, speaking of which, right after this, we're jumping onto my channel for some reading sprints for Star Wars Readathon. But so if you want to hang out with us after this, we're gonna jump over there.
Yes. Hi,
Hi.
Howell.
Hey.
So,
So,
do we want to share ratings?
yeah, so when I first read it, I gave it like a 3.5 to 3.75 because I also have mixed feelings about it. Now I think I need this talk, like us talking about it, to solidify the reason why I went a little higher after a couple days. Like I think after a day or two of thinking about it, I couldn't stop thinking about it. So for feelings, I bumped it up to a 4.25, but I can't tell if it's just my bias because I love Good Stab and I love vampires, or if it was genuinely good.
I gave it 3.5 stars. So far, I feel very comfortable in my 3.5 star. I can see it changing as well after this conversation, but for me, I there's too many flaws from my perspective as a reader. There's too many flaws. Also, yes, how she's giving I'm leading the revolution.
Thanks. Well, that's why I got my king right here leading the
Yes.
Yes.
Leading the revolution for him
Yes.
always.
Thank you. The power of friendship.
Yeah. Yes. Um yeah, I love Good Stab, and that's why, and I told you that from the beginning. I'm like, this should have only been Good Stab.
Hmm.
Everything else, I don't care. I don't care. I can understand why Stephen Graham Jones chose to add the things that he did, but it didn't need to be this long. And I know it doesn't look long here visually, but
It
this
felt
was like
long.
400 pages.
It felt It felt like 500, to be honest with you.
This is, I'm trying to look up the exact page count because even the acknowledgments are long.
Mm-hmm.
Like the acknowledgments are long. It's 424 pages, and it did not need to be that long. It was excessive. Like I feel like a lot of the people who read it for our book club were like, the beginning is such a struggle to get
Yeah.
through. And I would agree, like there's so much buildup that at first you're kind of like, okay, why are we here? What is happening? You're telling me about 5 bajillion people. I'm lost.
Yeah.
I'm lost and I don't know why I should care.
Yeah.
And I think that's inherently a flaw in
Mm-hmm.
the narrative. Like I can't overlook it personally.
That's valid. I think. Hey, Josh, how are you?
Gosh.
Also remind us what you rated it, because I think you dropped it in the Discord chat, but remind us what you thought of it as well, because we were just talking about our ratings. I feel like I see why there were so many chapters. So we alternate chapters, right? From the from Good Stab's point of view, who's the Indigenous man who's coming to give confession, and from the pastor's point of view. And I feel like in some aspects, I get that it's important that we get the pastor's POV, because we start to understand what makes him tick, and how even though he is a man of the cloth, he is not exempt from white supremacy. That he is very much internalized all of the things that have caused Good Stab to be there in the first place, which is like it's like the story of westward expansion, right?
Yeah.
But I would agree that like we get so much out of Good Stab stories that we really didn't need as many chapters of the pastor as we needed.
Yeah. To me, like the beautiful thing of this novel, what's best written here is what feels and reads like it's written in the oral tradition.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all like Good Stab's narrative. When
Mm-hmm.
he's talking, his voice is the best part of this
Mm-hmm.
whole thing. It's why I found myself resenting every single time we turned back to the pastor, because I felt like it was conveyed so easily how his soul actually is corrupt. He's trying to be this holy man, and there's not really anything particularly holy about him. And then Stephen Graham Jones is just beating us over the head with it. And I'm like, I have reading comprehension, Stephen.
Yeah.
I get it. He's racist. He does not embody what he means to represent. And I feel like we got that anyway once Good Stab gets to the meaty part of his
Mm-hmm.
story.
It
Like
becomes clear.
that becomes crystal clear. So that's why for me, I'm like, I could have easily just had this start with the framing of the pastor. So start in his narrative with the first basically encounter with Good Stab. And then it's just Good Stab all the way until we finish it out, basically. Because ultimately the book is like a story within a story within a story. There's 3 layers, because we actually start with the pastor's like great granddaughter. Is there like
3 times great? Actually, no, not maybe 2, maybe like great granddaughter, because she was older. She was in her 40s.
I don't know.
Yeah,
because like there were at least 2 greats mentioned though, but
probably
I tell you.
probably, but yeah.
So I don't know. Also 4.5, I agree with you. I love the Good Stab parts. It could have started with the framing and then just stuck with Good Stab until getting back to the end. Yeah. Yeah, like I understand having the framing to set this in the oral tradition, but beyond that, I'm like, don't give me any of this other stuff. We don't need it. Within Good Stab's narrative, we get what we need to learn about the pastor. And then we can still have the full circle moment we have at the end of the novel with his great great granddaughter. Like, I'm not opposed to that.
Yeah.
But
I wonder if, and this is just a speculation, if part of the reason for interspersing so many chapters with the pastor is because the language being used completely shifts. And I don't know if like that is supposed to be for the reader or for who it's serving, but I can easily think of a couple ways, because like there were certain plot points that we got in the pastor's chapters that set us up for the tension that would later come. But as I was reading, I was thinking like, okay, there's another way that he could have easily set this up without spending so much time here. So I wonder, I question who it was for.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I had a great time. Once things started getting chaotic and we got to the juicy parts, I was locked in. I was like,
but it's rough. It takes like 60-70%
yeah,
to get actually juicy. You know how many pages that is? You know how
that's
many
a lot.
hours that is?
Like the first 300 pages are building up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like build. It's a lot. The pastor's parts help for being more horror. I get it, but I don't feel like we needed as much of him. Yeah. Like, I understand that part of what builds the horror is because we need him to grow increasingly aware of his precarious situation. Because to begin with, he has no idea truly that he's in a precarious situation. Yeah. He just basically thinks that Good Stab is a little weirdo, a little savage weirdo that has come to his church to speak to him for some reason.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
But other than that, I loved I loved the play on language, the way that Good Stab calls him three persons, and that's his way of like inserting like this jab at him in some way. And then also that the titles were it was a German translation of a word for vampire, or like a spirit sucker, that kind of person. So I thought that there was interesting things happening with the language and the way that they spoke about each other.
I think that's part because I think the naming of things is such an important thing throughout the entire novel. Like, Good Stab has multiple names, and all of them are significant for different reasons. They represent different aspects of his life. And so him naming the pastor, which is, his name is Arthur Buchan, whatever the hell the last
something, yeah.
I never cared. To me, he was always three persons. I was like, I'm always gonna favor whatever Good Stab wants. He wants to call him three persons, he's three persons, period. But I think names in general are significant. Arthur also ends up having like three names because it's three persons, it's his actual given name, and at some point he's called like Arthur Flowers because of translation, because of how names are heard and how that changes your identity as well. I think that's part of what's being talked about in this novel is you can hear something, try to communicate something, but that can be then mistranslated in the lens of someone else who does not actually know you or where you come from.
Yeah. Consistently lost in translation.
Yeah.
Also, like, this entire thing is about identity crises. And these two individuals, they keep trying to reinvent themselves, but in an opposite way, which I really enjoy, which is like, are we in spoilers?
I don't know if we're in spoilers. I've been trying to say things that are not spoilery, but if we want to change to spoilers, we can.
Well then, okay, I won't talk about what I want to talk about. But like, So it's pretty early on in the book that it's revealed that Goodstab is a vampire. So that's not, I think, a spoiler.
I
But
don't think it's a spoiler for anybody because it's
yeah,
marketed as a vampire
yeah.
novel. I'm pretty sure the summary includes something along those lines,
I don't
probably.
know. Remember if it says like exactly that he's the vampire, but either way, it doesn't matter. We know it's it's a vampire story and that he's telling the story. So like his usually what we see in some characters is trying to change someone's identity to move into a different chapter of their life and like reinvent themselves. But in his case, he's constantly trying to go back to being who he was, which is a Pickaninny, which is the name for his specific indigenous tribe that he comes from. But
Gunny.
Pigunni, sorry.
Yeah.
Pigunni. He's trying to go back to being a Pigunni, but because he is now in the situation where he's a vampire and that vampire lore is something that is within his culture, it changes the way he interacts with the land, with people, with himself. His morality is now completely shifted and in question. So it's interesting to me to see a character that is going through an identity crisis, but like clawing at everything to go back to where they were, not trying something else.
Oh, I have so much I want to say about that, but that all falls into spoilers. Because what I love about that, it's all spoilers and interconnected with the vampire lore of this novel, which is very, very unique. I love it. I love the unique take of vampires here. I don't know if I would say it makes more sense because Stephen Graham Jones always talks about, and he talks about it in his acknowledgments as well, that he's been wanting to write a vampire novel, but vampires didn't make sense to him. Mm-hmm. And so he wanted to figure out a way for them to make sense. So he finally published this because he found a lore to create for himself that makes sense. I don't know that I agree that it makes sense, but do I think it's interesting? Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it's definitely unique.
Yeah.
It's very refreshing. So if you're looking for a new take on vampires, this is a good one for that.
Yeah. But going back to the like identity thing, yeah, it's often like Arthur wants to run from his past is what he's trying to do constantly. I think to some extent, Goodstab is also trying to run from certain things he's done, but for the most part, those are things he's had to do out of necessity because he's been turned into a vampire versus the ideal life was the before life, before this event happened to him, versus Arthur, who his before life is what's full of regret, of things he should not have done. So he wants to forge a path forward, even if it's full of lies. And it is an interesting contrast between the two, I would say.
So good. Okay, I don't know what else to say that's not spoilers.
I think we're good. I think we can move into spoilers now. So we can get into the meat of things.
Yes. Okay, so I don't know where to go with this. Okay, so I just want to talk about my emotions with the aminals and the buffalo and the beavers and
no, listen, to start with, I knew this novel was going to be sad the moment Goodstab was talking about the beavers and how he had to go against his beliefs and do something he should not have. And we got the whole scene of the beavers turning their back to him in more than one way. I wanted to sob. Yes. I was physically incapable of doing so at the time, but what I felt in my heart was just heartbreak.
Yes.
Heartbreak, because it's literally the moment that happens, you know, everything is just going downhill.
Yep.
For Goodstab. It's gonna be a hard downward.
Yup.
Downward
And he
turn.
knows it too. He
Yes.
says it like, I know this is wrong, but I'm doing what I think I have to do. And also, he apologizes to the beavers. And there's like a later point when he's a vampire where he comes back across, I think, the same beaver dam that he had, done what he wasn't supposed to do or taken from years before. And he's, as a vampire, leaving twigs and things where the beavers can find it so that they can rebuild it as his way of apologizing. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sad
And
for
the beavers
everybody.
don't take the sticks. The beavers say, no,
No,
we don't want your
screw you.
filthy sticks. It
Screw
has
your
to
sticks.
be.
We don't want your sticks here. Your sticks are not welcome here.
Yes. And I was just like, please, why are you doing this to me?
Oh, so sad.
This is not right.
Sad.
This is not right. It's like the whole thing that vampirism does to Good Stab is a corruption of the worst kind. Of the worst kind, because it forces him to do so many things that he would never do against his own people, against that go against his own beliefs, all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like we just need to talk about it. Like the most interesting part for me of the vampire lore is how your body changes based on what you consume as a
Yes.
vampire. Whatever you consume, you start taking on the traits of that. And that necessitates for Good Stab, if he wants to remain looking what he is, he has to consume his people.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, he will not look like who he used to be, representative of who he actually is. And that's like the biggest betrayal for me, and like hard separation. Like he wants to go back, but to go back is to harm your own people.
Yes.
And how do you deal with that? How do you navigate that separation in more than one way?
Yep.
um
He tries to find moral loopholes in which he's like, oh well, this Pagani person is injured, or this one has such reason where they're not living like what would be a fulfilling life. So he's trying to create his own rationale for taking from his people, which ultimately, with this being a metaphor for how colonization is vampiric in nature, in the sense that it takes from cultures, and how his culture is being taken from these white settlers, it puts him on this like moral pedestal of, is he actually any better than what the outsiders are doing to his own people? He has to reconcile with. But at the same time, for him, it would be worse to lose who he is as a Pagani by consuming the settlers, which he tries to do when he becomes the buffalo hunter, right? He goes
yeah.
hunting the white men who were hunting the buffaloes, which we got to talk about.
Yes.
So it is a story of Native American revenge, but the cost of that revenge is him turning into the very thing that he's trying to destroy.
Yes. And there's many times we have here that because he's on this revenge quest, he is not recognized by his people as being one of them, because he looks like the enemy. He looks like who they're trying to get the fuck away from. And I'm just sad.
No, it was sad. It was sad. Okay, listen. The beavers had me sad. I was sad. I wasn't crying, but I was sad. The point where I shed my first tear was the buffalo. When when he starts to find that the hunters are, not only are they hunting buffalo and taking their coats and leaving the meat in excess, which he explains at some point, I think it was like enough meat to have fed an entire tribe for a year is what they leave to
Rot.
decompose, to rot on
Like
these fields.
that was part of the whole, that was part of the point.
Yeah.
It was known that the buffalo were sacred
Yeah.
to indigenous communities, and they were purposefully hunted in essence for sport because of the impact it would have
Yes.
on its people.
Yes.
That was it. That's it. The waste was purposeful, which is part of the horror of it.
Yes. It is indirect. Trying to find a YouTube safe word. It is indirectly murdering the indigenous people because it is taking their resources, right? But on top of that, to add insult to injury, they are putting dangerous toxins, rubbing it into the meat so that if indigenous people come to at least try to salvage some of the buffalo, they will get sick. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, the part that really made me cry was the baby buffalo and how they intentionally tried to lead the baby buffalo to them to wipe them out. And I was like, that's it. Good Stab, you need to act now.
Yes. Yes. I was like, go after every single one of them. I don't care.
Everything.
I don't care. Take them all. Destroy them all. They are awful.
No survivors.
They are awful.
Awful human beings.
Listen, we haven't talked about Weasel Plume.
Oh, Weasel Plume.
We have not talked about Weasel Plume, which, first of all, justice for Weasel Plume.
Yes.
In more ways than one. First of all, he should have been on here.
Yes.
This right here should be Weasel Plume.
I agree.
That
should have been the buffalo on the cover.
Because part of why he's special is that he's a white buffalo. That's a very, very rare occurrence for buffalo. And I think for me, his whole thing represents like a double death for Good Stab. Because Weasel Plume was his childhood name. That was Good Stab's childhood name, that he encounters this white buffalo and decides to give what used to be his name to this buffalo, only for later on in the narrative for Weasel Plume and a herd of buffalo to be murdered, destroyed by that piece of shit. That piece of shit. The Catman. I don't know if the Catman ever gets a name.
No, I think he's just the Catman.
I think he's just the Catman. Like, there's the temporary name he has when he worms his way into the Pagani tribe to be a spiritual guide, that fucking snake.
Yes. But see, I like that because I feel like it was very intentional. So, okay, we haven't talked about the Catman at all. The Catman is the original vampire who turned.
We know, Howell. It does sound funny, but that's what he's referred to the whole time. But
yes, because he has cat-like features, right? So it's more of a descriptive, and also just the way the chaos. Like, I drew a doodle. I don't know if you saw it in the chat.
Yes, I did.
Because I was like, what the heck kind of crazy set of coincidence events? What? Like, that's got to be one of the most wild vampire transformations I've ever read. But anyway, point is that Catman only getting the one name from Good Stab, I think, is representative of, again, like what you said earlier, of that names are important, and names changing are being given is a sign of respect. And so when his people who Catman snakes his way into give him a name, it's because they respect him as one of their own. It's not coming from Good Stab.
Yeah. And as we've established, that snake only is accepted by them because he's feeding on them.
Yes.
He doesn't give a shit about them. So he's feeding on them so he will look like them, and has just done all his little evil tricks to be trusted by them and then humiliate them. That's the part that hurt the most. Him spitting on their faces, on their traditions, on what they believe in, for the sake of humiliating someone else. Like, at the end of the day, this isn't even really about him giving a shit about the Pagani. Is that he knows by doing this farce, it's going to get to Good Stab. That's who he's actually trying to affect, but still disrespecting a whole people. I hate him.
Yes. And again, insult to injury, that by the time we get to that where he's really being confronted for his evil deeds, he had locked Good Stab away and was feeding him white people. So when he arrived, his own people, the Pagani, were like, who is this white man?
Exactly. No. Wow.
Down with the cat man.
Hate him.
Yes.
Hate the cat.
But I will say one thing that I did love is the creativity in how this vampire functions. And so we learn that there's no easy way of getting rid of these vampires. It's not like traditional vampire lore where you can just put a stake in the heart or, set them on fire or put them in the sun. Like, those things don't affect them. And so the way that Good Stab ends up dealing with Catman, I enjoyed that a lot.
It was a whole process. And the second one that happens later is also a whole process. Yes. I'm like, oh, who has the time?
He does. He's immortal. He got the time.
But I'm sitting here like, because I'm also thinking, since I watched Sinners last night, I am thinking about vampire lore in general. I'm like, if I'm a human who has to deal with this, again, who has the time to kill a vampire with this lore? This universe. Who has that kind of time in their hands? Time, effort, any of it. I'm like, it's too much.
It's a lot.
They're so hard to kill. Truly.
So we can, other than, okay, so what happens in the end with the pastor is that, so it turns out that he was one of the hunters who was a buffalo hunter who then rebranded himself to become a pastor at a certain point. And he was at fault with the people that he was riding with earlier in his life. And he, in order to get revenge, Good Stab turns him into a vampire, but then does something very similar to what he did with Catman, which is only feeds him rats, so he turns into a 6-foot-tall rat, and then drops him at his great-granddaughter's house like, here you go, what you gonna do with this? Happy birthday. Like, what you mean?
Frankly, bestie, I feel disrespected how you summarized what this fucking pastor did.
I was getting to the rat, but go ahead. Go off.
Earn what has been done to him. This man literally, and even while he's confessing to what he's done, he's like trying to absolve himself. That's why his sections are called the absolution of 3 persons. This nasty ass man, they were just going through the land. They were not supposed to attack anybody. He literally says it. He was with a scout. He was with a scout, and the scout had done his job. The scouting was done. But he was a hungry little caterpillar. And he was like, but I want food. Think about this delicious thing we can eat if we don't trust these bitches and get rid of them. And so then, thanks to him being a little snake as well, whispering evil into this man's ear, they do not negotiate with the Pagani. They were going to, like, this was supposed to be a relatively peaceful thing because the Pagani weren't trying to do shit. We're not trying to do shit. But because Sembró Cizaña, that fucking evil bastard, they annihilate everyone there. Which literally he acknowledges, he's like, the worst part is that they didn't fight back.
Yes.
They didn't fight back. And Good Stab is like, because they were sick. They were sick. And you did that shit to them. For what?
For what is the question?
For what?
And that he has the cojones to sit here and try to absolve himself.
Literally. How will we love giant rats, but we hate this one?
Yes.
We want this rat.
Not the same. Not the same.
No, not the same. Not the same. He deserved what happened to him. And I wish it could happen to him 5 more times.
Yes.
Okay. Horrible, horrible man. Also, hi, Damien.
Damien. We already talked about our feelings.
Reading it. This is representative of me with Frankenstein. This is me with Frankenstein. Did I like reading it? No. Do I like it technically? Yes.
We already talked in the first half about our feelings about how this could have been a lot shorter and there should have been things cut out.
No, literally at one point I said, I'm like, all this shit with 3 persons could have been an email.
Could have been an email.
Don't say Frankenstein, you'll summon. That's okay. She can be summoned.
We have some more comments up, I think, from Josh and Howell as well.
Oh, wait. Okay. I'm just in time for how. I think this is okay. I was definitely thinking when I heard all the Sinners hype that I wonder if any of y'all watched it. I haven't, but the hype did make me think of this book. Yeah. Yes.
We both watched it yesterday.
Yes, we both watched it yesterday. We both enjoyed it. The only similarity, frankly, that I found, well, maybe you have a different perspective, is the significance of like a particular type of person. Because we haven't talked about the little girl. I forgot her name.
Yes, that's important.
She is special. The cat man becomes obsessed with her because her blood smells a very specific way, and he knows already will taste a very specific way, a very rare thing that only twice in his life, which he's almost lived 500 years, he's experienced. So he becomes obsessed with tracking her down. And he and Good Stab end up making a little deal so that the cat man will leave the fucking Pagani alone. And all that to say, in Sinners, there's also that similar thing. Like the lead vampire becomes obsessed with this particular character because of a gift that he was born with, an ability that he has. And I just find that interesting. Those little parallel.
So what's special about the girl is that she's not a medicine woman. She's like, I guess like a shamanista, I guess would be the closest.
I think it's more like
spiritual woman.
Could be, but she's too young.
When she's born, she has what the making of becoming a shaman as she gets older. So becoming like the tribe's spirit woman. And so because of that, she has this innate spirituality or connection to the world that makes her different. So in essence, Catman was grooming her from when she was little until when she gets older for her to be ripe for him to eat her.
Because the Catman ain't worth shit. That's her.
Yeah.
Also, is there a genre name for Indigenous people horror, or would it be part of Southern Gothic?
I don't think it's part of Southern Gothic.
Yeah, I don't think it fits into that, but I don't know if a specific term has been created for this kind of genre.
Would it be would it be considered horror folklore? Or maybe?
I don't know.
Southern Gothic.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't get over the cat man. Listen, I hate him.
Yeah.
Having not watched it, the only similarity with it, without me knowing anything about it, was white supremacy and vampires.
Yes, very
also
much. Yeah. I will say another thing that it has in common, or a couple things it might have in common, is like we start, if we put the pastor aside for a minute, because it technically starts as like the book in the book in a book, but when we get to, before we get to the vampiric stuff, it's like his life as Weasel Plume, which was a happy life for him when he was younger, and like his learning about his culture. So like starting with like a cultural joy, and then it being disrupted by the coming, like the insertion of white supremacy, that like disrupts that, versus starting with that and they're already trying to survive within it. We see the actual disruption. So like that would be something that they both have in common, I think. And then also the way that people are, who are connected to the culture, and also the animals, of being part of what is, because for them it's like a universal thing, right? Like the earth is part of the spirit, all of that, every single thing they touch is part of, they have some significance in their culture, that everything is connected. And so because of that, there we see different people, or beings in this case, who sense the vampire presence and are like, something sus, I don't like this, no. Like we get that in both situations. So there's a couple things.
What else can we say?
Oh, that's my Discord going off. Oops. What else? Okay, so when he shows up at her house, okay, I just want to talk about some.
I love how you just say he shows up her house.
Sorry, like
they're talking about. I know.
There's
you're just full in.
Sorry, there's a couple different. I just want to talk about some moments that made me haha hee hee. Okay. Like when Good Stab shows up in 2013 at the great granddaughter's house, he's wearing a buffalo head.
Yes.
On his head. And he's like, so here's your granddad. He's a rat now. I was like, slay.
Literally. When she first encounters him too, she's just taking some Benadryl because her nerves are shot.
Yes.
Which frankly, I can understand and respect. And so he shows up, buffalo head on his head, being like, I brought you a gift. And she's like, I need somebody to sedate me.
Yes. Like, what is going on? So that loved.
I did laugh once he does the reveal, because he doesn't do the reveal in the first encounter.
Yes.
He does the reveal later, and suddenly she's like, wait, that's just basically a mask.
Yeah.
He was just wearing a mask. And I'm like, honey, well, how else do you think this was gonna work? You've read his lore, how the vampires work. He wouldn't just have a buffalo head even if he ate a whole herd of buffalo. That's not how it works.
It's not how it works. So that made me ha ha hee hee. Also, the Pinkertons becoming a villain was totally unexpected to me, and I was dying.
Listen, that all went completely over my head. I went into the Discord chat and I was like, first of all, I don't even remember Pinkertons being mentioned. Second of all, I don't know this real life lore of the Pinkertons. Third of all,
Okay. The Pinkertons were essentially like mafioso that were hired to deal with certain situations, like real life mafioso. They're still very active, by the way. So just like them becoming a villain in like a C plot thing, I was like, this is hilarious to me.
Again, such a C plot that it went right over my head.
And then Also, for some reason, to set the time, which I don't think we needed to set the period, because this is the entire thing is a period piece.
Yeah.
But we had a character who was stressing about his stock investment in the Titanic because it sank.
I also did not catch that.
No.
I did not catch that at all, bestie. When I tell you at all, I went into the chat, I saw the Pinkertons and the Titanic, and I was like, when did this happen?
I don't know.
Was I asleep? I was asleep at the wheel.
I maybe because I know I was like,
It's not that I don't believe you. It's not that. I'm just like, where was I? Where was I? Listen, Josh is saying it. I completely missed the Titanic stuff, even though I read you mention it before I passed that part. I did not see that. I mean, again, to be fair, the part I haven't mentioned, I read this with half a brain, half a brain cell, because all my brain cells were dedicated to something else. So this needed a lot more of my brain cells, but so that I could be here for the book club, I had to say, fuck it. Not all dots are going to get connected. I'm going to miss stuff, and that's okay.
Yep. Oh, here it is. So it doesn't say the Titanic in name, but the year is, we know the year is 1912 because it's literally in the title of the chapter.
Yeah.
And I did write this here. It says, later in the afternoon on Wednesday, the Star, which is the newspaper, told me why Chance Aubrey had done this. And this was the guy who ceased himself from existence because his stocks or his investment went south. The ship he had invested so much of himself in had sunk partway through its maiden voyage. The Titanic happened this year around this time. So,
yeah. Josh, I'm with you. I think that's because we didn't care about the 3-person stuff. Yes, correct. Yes. And yes, correct, Howell. Ghoulie brain cells. I still
ghoulie brain cells,
am only composed of ghoulie brain cells at the moment. This has not changed. I need to regenerate. Okay, I need to regenerate new brain cells that are not ghoul infested. But I don't know how long that's gonna take.
Also, I was highlighting like the banter back and forth between Good Stab and 3 persons when he actually starts to figure out why Good Stab is telling him these things, and I was ha he because it says you put the reminders of pain on your wall and you pray to them. We still hurt, so we don't need that reminder. Why are you here? I ask then, and this is good. This is 3 persons talking. Why me? Can you do me that dignity at least? Do you deserve my attention? 3 persons. Good Stab said, more than asked, if I'm to be honest. Do you really wish to be absolved? I said back at the same intonation or lack thereof. Do you? He said to me.
Amazing. Man. Yes. Other books, this is an easy question for me to answer. Easy question. The Only Good
Indians. Yes.
Yeah, read it.
Yes.
If you love horror movies, especially slashers, read I Was a Teenage Slasher. It's fantastic. It's so fun. Only Good Indians for true horror, sadness, horrific shit happening, all of that. I Was a Teenage Slasher for funsies, but also always sadness. There's always sadness.
There's just sad. That book legit made us cry.
Okay, he doesn't know how to not put sadness into a book. Another good one, if you want to do something shorter, is Mapping the Interior. But if you just want to chomp on just a full-length novel, those are the 2 main ones that I would say. Go run, don't walk.
Yes.
So yeah,
amazing, incredible. I still feel 4.25 because I was like, even though I trudged, I was like crawling through the first half, like, oh, Steven, where are we going? But when we got there, and I'm happy, so it's fine.
No, I'm still at my 3.5. I'm like, I've loved this discussion. I've loved reliving everything I loved about it, but it's still like, editor, you were sleeping at the wheel. Sleeping at the wheel. Restrain him. This is not the first time this has happened. Restrain him. He
Yes.
needs to be restrained. Listen, I only allow this from Stephen Graham Jones.
There's not many authors who allow this.
Everyone else, I'm like, goodbye. Goodbye. But since he always gives something to actually truly munch on, I'm like, okay, fine. I'll put up with what I shouldn't. Okay. So still close. Okay.
Yay. I would still consider this a book club hit. It was a good talk and we didn't suffer like last time as much.
Yes. Steph saying she was crawling through the first half, and then I remember literally getting a drink at 70% through because finally things picked up. Yes. Literally 70%. It's crazy. And again, if this had all just been focused on Good Stab, I would have been locked in from the beginning. But no, because we can't have nice things.
You still trust him. It's fine.
It's fine. We're going to keep reading Stephen Graham Jones. We're not going to stop. Again, not my first rodeo, but...
Okay. Do we have any other thoughts about this before we talk about what we're reading next month for anybody who comes to watch this video later?
I don't think I have anything else.
Hey, I think we're good.
Wait, we have Josh. What do you think if it was more focused on her?
The great granddaughter? I don't like her either.
No, I didn't need her either. Literally, once I saw in the audiobook, because I listened to it, I saw in the audiobook that the last section of Good Stab was over. I was like, fuck my life. I'm like, there's still so much audio left. What do you mean, Stephen? What do you mean?
Well, okay, you know what? Something that I forgot to mention that I did like at the very end of her chapter, at the end of the book, when after she finds a way to get rid of her great granddaddy rat man, and she sees Good Stab in the distance, and she's like, I did it, Good Stab. Be proud of me. Power to the people. And he's like, nah, I'm not fisting you back.
Literally.
This was so good.
Literally.
I loved it.
I did like, though, like, one related to the interactions between Good Stab and Etsy, I think is her name. Yeah, Etsy. Is when she's like terrified. They're finally having an actual conversation, but she's like terrified, and he's like, but what have you done to me? Why would I do anything to you? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, exactly. It's one of my favorite dynamics in general in a series, is like people being terrified, and they're like,
for what?
I'm like, I don't got beef with you. I don't got beef with you. My beef, if with someone else. Chill. But yeah, instead of as much 3 persons, her getting more the horror points, I could see a way that could have worked. Honestly, removing the framework of 3 persons and instead doing the framework instead, basically being her. But I didn't need more white people, period.
I'm okay.
I'm gonna get these white people away from me. I'm gonna get the white devil out of this place.
No, vaya con Dios. Bye.
Okay. I think now we can talk about
amazing
our May picks for the book club. Take it away, bestie.
Woo! So for May, in the Annotation Station Book Club, our fiction pick is Futbolista by Johnny Garzavia. Woo!
Love it. Love
It
it. Love
is
Johnny.
a new adult romance, Mexican rep, college age soccer player. We have gay representation, we have bi representation, we have non binary representation, and it is a coming to terms with one's identity story that is beautiful and wholesome. Nobody does it like Johnny. So, yay.
Another important thing, we have himbo representation.
Yes, we do.
Very important.
Cool. So if you want to join the Annotation Station Book Club Discord to talk with us, you can become a channel member over at my channel at literally any level to get access to the Discord if you're not already in it. Otherwise, we do live streams every month where you can chat with us about it. So
yes. Do you want to mention the nonfiction one?
Oh yeah. I don't have a copy right now, but we're reading Rehearsals on Living by, it's two authors and I keep forgetting names. Rehearsals for Living, sorry, by Robin Maynard and Leanne Beta Samosake. Apologies if I'm not saying that correctly. Simpson. It is a Black author and Indigenous author, and it is like essays and debate about their lives in the contemporary, being creators, living through the pandemic, and it looks interesting.
I started it. I'm only in the first letter that is sent. I'm already loving it. I'm like, oh, this is spectacular.
Amazing.
It's like, again, I haven't gotten yet to a Leanne chapter, but I'm like, I love reading two nerd people talking to each other. This is amazing. I'm like, highly intelligent people talking to each other. I'm like, yes, thank you.
Thank you
for this meal. So I'm excited to keep reading.
Lovely. Yeah.
All right.
That's it.
Yes. We'll see you hopefully at the end of May.
Yes. Otherwise, we're going to go jump over to reading sprints now. So
yes.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.